budget conditions, we don't want to capitalize on it. Maybe that's an olive branch in your opinion. However, I'm not going to say I feel misled, right? Because I don't, because I trust you guys. And I go back to what I said to start this. We have a good working relationship. However, all right, this thing kind of stinks now, you know. And had we known all this information, I certainly may not have voted the way that I voted. This whole thing is built on speculation. Should we do this? If we go here, possibly if some other governor or some other legislature is elected next year and we decide to expand. But this is like something a little different.
Senator, I believe we were as clear as we can be in describing this. I mean the actual legislation I think is pretty clear. I think the process of this over the last couple of years has that has always been part of this discussion. I reiterate my comments that I made. I mean we recognize this issue. We recognize that when you do legislation like this over multiple years, that there are some provisions from a timing perspective that don't always line up with where we are, and I will reiterate our commitment to work through any of those issues with the legislature, with the department. I did reach out to Secretary Kleber and have that conversation with her. And as far as the timing, but I will say that we had multiple conversations back and forth informally with the department.
And you will. I mean, you're the hospital association. Sure. They're the Department of Health and Hospitals. We expect that. Okay, but I go back to what I said a little earlier when you guys do this 24/7, 365. You are focused on the arguably most complicated aspect of state government.
Sure.
All right, we're part-time.
Sure.
And this committee spends a tremendous amount of time analyzing the fiscal data.
Sure.
All right, and for some of us to be caught off guard by this, I think that goes a little against what you said when you indicated that it was clear. And I'm telling you, it was not clear.
Well,
as a member of the Senate.
If we weren't clear, I certainly apologize for that, but I think this has been part of a long-term discussion that we've been having.
Yeah, to help us in evaluating those things, we employ professionals that know what they're doing. The gentleman sitting at the table knows what he's doing. He didn't contemplate what that was. So, I mean, when you say it's clear, it's not clear. It's not even clear to our experts. So, Senator White.
Thank you. On that expenditure for 16, now that if we pass this resolution, we won't have that obligation. Is there any expenditure obligations for next year?
For 16, not based on the current posture of SCR 131.
No, but what
it
about
resets the base reimbursement rate, so we're not obligated to pay some floor until the fee is assessed, which is in 17 at a minimum. And that floor, that rate floor, that base reimbursement level is more narrowly defined. So it strictly covers inpatient and outpatient reimbursement rates, which we contemplated in the original fiscal note. Not certain programs or DISH programs that were proposed to be cut in the current posture of the bill. So it solves that expenditure problem for 16.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Had this email come 2 weeks from now, we weren't in session, would DHH, this resolution doesn't pass, would DHH be obligated to pay that money?
I think that'd probably be a question for their legal team, but if
Probably
it
be a
set the
cause of
base
action,
reimbursement rate and we cut a certain program, then it's
Right.
likely that we
they're
would,
either going to have to pay it or get sued.
right, likely.
Well, and there was so much speculation in it, and so I didn't vote for it either. It's just too many unknowns. Thank you.
Senator Buffington.
Sean, you and I have worked together for many years. One of the things I have always understood is that fiscal notes are a snapshot in time. When you do them, you're doing them based on the information that you have at that moment in the information that is contained in a particular bill at that moment.
That is correct.
Of all bills, House Bill 1 is an evolving animal. It not only changes hour to hour, sometimes it seems it changes minute to minute.
That's correct.
And so I clearly understand, as you contemplated the fiscal note originally on this, you were doing it based on the information that you had at that time as the bill stood at that time.
That's correct.
So
And the current year funding, FY15.
correct. And so I hope everybody is very thoughtful in that process. We are not through with House Bill 1 yet. It's still got to go to the floor. Now, we may speculate or think or hope that we know what will be contained in that when it becomes an enrolled bill, but we don't know. And so I'm always very candidly very protective of staff because I came from them. And so I say that when they give us information, it's the best information that they have at that particular snapshot, at that particular point in time. And it will be subject to change, quite candidly, based on the changes we make. So, but one thing that you said, try to help provide some clarity for me. As you were going through the detail of the potential impact, the what ifs as it stands today, and this is as amended, not enrolled, you mentioned that in I think your total of the 7.6, you mentioned the 2.6 for the outliers, the NICU cuts. I'm perplexed because repeatedly, and I think I heard my good friend Mr. Reynolds say that the outliers were covered in HB1.
They are.
Okay,
So if it's covered as it stands, it's not a liability in 16. It's being funded.
okay, but help me. I'm being told that those NICU cuts are being funded with CDBG funds.
They are, as a match source,
How?
which on another note could be
Yes.
problematic.
I'm going to tell the committee, I'm pretty sure that is going to be problematic. And so while we depend on you for accurate information, I hope everybody's hearing that. I don't ever want to leave this place feeling like I didn't understand, so I always ask staff. I always ask because we depend on you. And there's an instance where it looks like it is, it might be, but it could not be. And that's just one of the things that impacts this type of fiscal note. So candidly, I reached out to my friends at the federal level and said, hey, can we use CDBG funds for NICUs? And they laughed at me. And I said, no. So that's a place in time that, and I kept asking some folks in the department that question, and I think they didn't want to give me an answer. So before we hit the floor, Mr. Chairman, I just want to be sure that as we walk through these things, I kept hearing first that the ER triage fee would be back in. Then I heard it was going to come out. Then I heard it was going to go back in. And again, in defense of the staff, I'm going to say it's hard for them to calculate a totally accurate note for us unless they know. And I think they're doing the best that they can, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Senator Olan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean, not so much you, Paul, but Sean, you know my apprehension with HCR 75 all along.
Yes, sir.
And you know that our conversations in the hall, our conversations on the phone, I relied on our conversations and your interpretation of what HCR 75 did.
Yes, sir.
And we never had any conversations about any type of fiscal impact in the interim. And so I'm a little disappointed, if you will. You know, I told you that you really convinced me, and I told you that it was a real hard thing for me to push that green button. And you know, I expect y'all to make this right.
Yes, sir.
And never do that again. You know, I expect we're making decisions that impact a lot of people on information, and if I can't rely on y'all anymore, then I can't trust the information you're getting me. So I would very much urge y'all to get this right.
Read you loud and clear, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Law. Senator Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's recap, because there's been a lot of talking. HCR 75, we voted on it, got the email out. SCR 131 does the following. Give us a recap of what's going to happen. A quick recap. That's what I just want to get everybody's. I just want to get a condensed version of the recap.
Okay, Senator Mills, on the revenue side, it carries forward what SCR 75 does.
That'll stay
It
intact.
does not change.
The revenue side is no change.
No change.
Okay.
But instead of establishing the baseline or a rate floor effective FY16, it does not establish that until the fee is assessed.
And then that sets the baseline.
And at a minimum, it's in 17. So whatever rate structure's in place, that would be set in 17. And it also more narrowly defines what the baseline is. It
And
takes out some of the programs. It's basically targeted towards inpatient and outpatient.
And if
And
we-
not certain dish pools and M-HERES and
So it simplifies that. And if we don't do that, it sets a baseline that we have to start backfilling now.
That's correct,
Okay.
potentially.
And everybody's okay with SCR 131? Everybody's in agreement with it? I'm okay with it. I know, your name's on it. But on the hospital side, everybody's good with it?
Yeah, Senator Mills, I would say that we haven't looked at it completely. I think that what we would say is we were careful to make sure that the Resolution 75 complied with the constitutional amendment, and I haven't done the same level of review related to this resolution. The constitutional amendment does call for some very specific setting of the base rates, and I haven't evaluated the definition in detail to see if it fit that definition.
So the resolution calls to establish the specifics of the baseline.
And
of
when the
rate.
baseline's established?
Right.
In
In the
a
first
year.
resolution, the first resolution did that, and the second one does that too, just more narrowly.
More narrow. So it seems like, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but it seems like y'all could support this.
Yeah,
To correct, to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
I think the one issue that we're, may have, in compliance with the constitutional amendment is the year, because the constitutional amendment is very specific to the base rates being established in a particular year.
The Constitution, I have it right here. I think the Constitution indicates that the first formula will establish,
The first formula.
so I guess it comes down to what the first formula is.
Mr. Russo, you have anything to add to it? Because I know you kind of were thrown into the email mix. I just want to make sure we hear. So in DHH's opinion, 131 kind of solves the issues we've been contemplating as a committee, Mr. Reynolds?
I got you.
From the department's point of view, yes, I agree, it does. It sets it up where once the hospitals start paying, the provider fee starts paying into the program, then their rates are set and constitutionally protected. And to me, that's a fair deal. They're at that point in time putting in the money that's been talked about for the last few years, and at that point in time, their rates would be constitutionally protected. And it's their inpatient, outpatient per diems, the supplemental payments that we use for financing mechanisms that change constantly and are always moving around. Those are not covered under this resolution, but their rates are, and hopefully, with that influx of revenue, we can get those rates up to where they need to be to support our hospitals at the levels that we need to.
So from Senator Allen's comments and what he made as far as to learn everything and what everybody's been saying is, I guess I like this last time to you, Jeff, once again, does this kind of correct the snafu?
Yes, I think it does.
Okay.
In this version, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Senator Mills. Senator Murray for a question.
I guess I want to just change this. The resolution came to us based on the information that was available at the time. So I don't think it was a snafu. I don't think it was a mistake. It was based on what was available at the time. I frankly wish we had done the Medicaid expansion when it first became available. We might not be in this problem today trying to find money, but that's neither here nor there. But I really don't want to beat up on staff or these people at the table, because I mean, they have a job to do for the people they represent. And if we pass a resolution that says, based on it, that we owe money, then they have a job to do and to ask for it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's very confusing, Senator Marty, but thank you. Okay. The board's clear. Senator Clay, do you want to close on your resolution, sir? Oh, there's an amendment, Senator Clater.
Is there? That's yours? I don't know. Whose amendment is it?
Senator Murray says it's yours. So
All right. Then it must be awesome.
And you know Senator Murray is always right. Senator Clater, is this your amendment?
It is my amendment. And I would like to make it the committee's amendment as well.
You want to tell us what your amendment does?
Staff could help me out with it.
All right. Ms. Hess?
Yes, sir. On page 4, line 7, it clarifies that the base level or the reimbursement level shall be established as for fiscal year 2012-2013, which is a constitutional requirement.
Just adding clarity to the bill.
All right. Does anything that you see affect the fiscal note on this
I think
bill?
it's clarification. It's
right.
clarification.
All right. All right. Senator Clay to office 34019. Is there any objection to the adoption of 34019? Hearing no objection, 34019 is adopted. Your only amended bill, Senator.
Members, I do want to compliment the association folks for coming here and presenting themselves to the committee and answering your questions. They could have chosen to be conveniently elsewhere and not answer the questions, and so they have come here. They have presented themselves on this. I think they agree with my resolution in the sense of what it does, but maybe it's not all that willingly on it. But as to staff, I'm certainly not casting any bad light on staff. Staff is those that helped us realize this particular issue, and as Senator Buffington has pointed out, it's a animal that's changing the whole way through the process. But the body has spoken on HCR 75, but when they did speak on it, it was my understanding and impression, even though I voted against it, that everybody thought it didn't have a fiscal cost. So this is an opportunity to remedy that particular element. It doesn't change the body's will as it relates to the original HCR 75, except on the expenditure side, not the revenue side. I'd ask that we move it out to the floor and may hold it there for a bit just to make sure that we understand completely what it does. May decide that it's best to bring it after HB1 so that we completely understand what it does. But here's an opportunity to make sure that what your original will was is followed through on.
All right, very good. All right, members, Senator Clater moves that we report current resolution 131 is amended. Is there any objection to that? Hearing no objections, SCR 131 is reported as amended. Is there any other business come before the committee? Hearing no business, Senator Mills moves that we